write a will and do it through a lawyer's office, because you have to have notaries and witnesses, and don't go print one online, y'all. They don't cost much. I think when I do them, I'll do them for couples for $150. South Carolina only. Come on, guys. But really, it's cheap. It's super cheap, and it avoids a lot of expense on the back end. And not only that, but you can go in. If you're healthy right now, you're not rushing, and you can change it anytime. Wills are cheap. They're not expensive. Don't go online and buy one. I have seen them, and as often as not, people screw them up because they don't know what they're doing, and if nothing else, they didn't know all the options that they had available to them. And that's what going in and talking to a lawyer can do. Really and truly, you can do it without going in. Nowadays, with everything Zoom and everything, you can just do it. You can just do it over the phone, and then have it. You can't email it because you got to do a notary, and notaries can only notarize an e-signature or a phone signature if they really know the people. So it's just, you got to have a close personal relationship. But I like to see the person. So I usually you drive up, I hand it to you through the window, you sign it. I'm masked up, and then you give it back to me. I have my witnesses there. We witness, take it back inside, make the copies, and bring it back to you. And you're in and out in 15 minutes. So it's not a daunting thing. And yeah, nobody likes to think about their passing away. Nobody likes to think about it. I promise you. I hate it. It's not fun. But I reconcile that fear with, I'm doing this for my family. They won't have any questions when I'm gone. When something happens to me, it'll be smooth sailing for them to resolve that issue. So again, estate planning stuff, doing life estates, and again, all of this applies to South Carolina, but it has some overarching themes, and each state's a slightly different, but slightly different enough that you need to ask a lawyer in your area. I sincerely recommend getting a will. I sincerely recommend a couple of other things too. Power of attorney. There's a difference between a power of attorney and a durable power of attorney. Durable power of attorney, general powers of attorney, just regular powers of attorney, is effective while you're awake, and that's just the way I think about it. When you're cognizant, when you're here with us, it's mostly for people who are going out of country and they need somebody to write a check or something on their case. It's usually something small like that. You can have limited powers of attorney for specific things. When you buy a car, in fact, you probably have signed, if you've ever bought a car, you've probably signed a limited power of attorney giving the car dealership the ability to be you when they file certain things with the Department of Motor Vehicles. I've signed them when I bought cars. Didn't know what they were before I was a lawyer, but I do now. And that's perfectly fine. They're usually limited in time and scope. But then general powers of attorney, of course, for everything. And you better doggone well trust your power, whoever you're giving your power to, because they can rob you blind. I mean, really and truly, you better trust them. No question about it. If you're giving away a general power of attorney, because it gives them the authority to sign your name for anything that's within the power that you're giving away, okay? So why do a durable one? All right. Well, I'm in surgery and something needs to happen. I'm out, right? I'm having a triple bypass and I'm under for 24 hours, and all of a sudden somebody needs to sign something or do something for me, or they had to put me in a coma and I'm not able to be awake, or even worse yet, I've had a horrible accident and I've got a brain injury. I can no longer do for myself. So in that scenario, your durable power of attorney survives your incapacity, and voila, there's no bump. There's no having to go to probate court and get a guardian and a conservator appointed and all this stuff, and that's very complicated and it's not cheap. Powers of attorney will run you somewhere between $75 and $150. So like I said, I do wills for $150 for a couple, $75 a piece if they're simple. Not anything super complicated for that kind of price. But and normally that takes me about half an hour to draft them all. But anyway, back to powers of attorney. Durable powers of attorney, we don't do anything but durable powers and limited powers. We do limited powers of attorney mostly when people are doing real estate stuff and they're out of country, or they can't be here or something like that, and we'll do a limited power, assigning the power of attorney to somebody more local. So, durable power of attorney, will, healthcare power of attorney. Your power of attorney doesn't give the person the right to see or to tell the doctors what they're going to do when you're in that hospital bed. Healthcare power of attorney does that. And that healthcare power of attorney, it usually spells out whether or not you want tube feeding, whether or not you want intravenous IVs, fluids. It also usually spells out, end of life. Do you want them to give you life-saving measures? I'm 35 and mine says give it all. I want that, if the doctor can't save me with the tools he has available, then it's not in my hands, it's not in his hands. It's in his hands. But if I'm 85 or 90 years old, I've lived a good life and all my friends have passed on, and it's not that I don't have anything to live for, but also I might have stage 4 cancer, and it's just, it's my time, because medical science isn't going to get me past this. And I would rather not prolong the suffering, right? Mark it on the piece of paper, and that way your son or your daughter or your wife or your mother or whomever is your immediate caregiver or immediate family member who's going to help care for you, or even if you don't have a family member, even if you've just got a best friend out there, that best friend now knows, or even just the doctor now knows what you wanted. And what do you do with healthcare power of attorney? Well, you keep one for yourself, you give one to the person you're giving your power of attorney to, and you give one to your family doctor. And if you have any specialists, you give a copy to them too. So you're giving copies to everybody. That way, if anybody has a question about it and you're in the hospital or you get into a wreck or whatever, they can figure it out. They can figure out what you wanted. And those are all of them, right? That's it. That's my 3: wills, healthcare powers of attorney, durable powers of attorney. Those are the ones you need to make sure that if something happens to you, the transition is smooth and less stressful than if you didn't see to it ahead of time. And that's the thing is, if you don't tend to it now, it's your fault that your family has troubles later. I mean, it is that simple. And I, in my work, I have to brass tacks things, and that's just it. If you don't tend to it, it's your fault, and your family has every right to be ticked off at you when it's a problem for them later. So take responsibility for your life and the difficulties of your family. Ease that transition, because God knows it's hard enough when somebody passes away or when somebody's really sick. If you've answered the questions before you're there, it's so much easier and so much less painful, and your family will thank you. I've had families in my office saying, "Oh my God, I'm so glad Dad had this," or "God, I wish Dad had this or Mom had this, because this is just awful." There are legal remedies, but on the front end you spend, grand total, $300 to $500. On the back end, if you hadn't dealt with it, your family's probably spending somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000 to fix it. So it's an investment in your family's future, and your future maybe, but it's definitely an investment in your family's future and your friends' future. So I'm gonna end it right there. Like I said, don't comment about legal questions. I've been responding to them in my last video a little bit, but as a general rule, I'm not going to keep an eye on that. If you have questions that are relevant to South Carolina, email me, adamcness@gmail.com. If you have questions that are relevant to other states or other countries, call your state bar association or a local attorney and just ask, can you handle this? And if not, can you recommend somebody who can? It's that simple. So anyway, y'all, I'm gonna catch y'all later. Probably do some gardening videos. I did finish potting up those figs last night, those fig cuttings, but the recording cut out on me and I lost it. So Oh well. Um, but I will do some updates on those as we go. Let me know if y'all like the videos with doing some talking about lawyer stuff and whatnot. And uh, anyway, it's kind of interesting if I can meld these two areas of my life, professional and hobby. So talk to y'all later.